Hello everybody, today we're going to be taking a look at this Philips 400 watt high pressure sodium bulb. This was a very nice donation to the channel from Agent Halogen. So a huge thank you in donating this to the channel for all of us to take a look at here today. As we can see on the front of the packaging here for European style high pressure sodium lamps, it's pretty bare. We just have a white package, some black inking on it. Nothing wrong with that. I like that. It's simple. It gets to the point. This is their master line of lamps. It's a Son-T PIA Plus. The Son-T is their standard high-pressure sodium lamp. I'm not sure what the PIA Plus stands for. I'm going to guess it has something to do with the higher efficiency and possibly, it's just more economical to run than a standard Son-T lamp. That's my guess anyway. I'm sure somebody will let us know in the comments down below. So obviously we have a simple little picture here of the lamp itself. I like at the bottom, it says for professional use only, not for sale in the US. Ooh, it ended up here. It's made in China. I do like this packaging though, it's unique. It has these little corners here that fold in, that kind of rest on the edge of the bulb itself, so it doesn't slide all the way out. This side of the packaging, we don't really have much. We can see it was made around probably 2023, based on the copyright date here. Signify. And on the back, we have some great information. Obviously, this is an E40 base, but it will fit in our E39 American base here for demonstration today. It is 55,900 lumen, so a very bright bulb naturally. I'm not sure what this wattage means here, if that is 8 watts of ballast loss, or the fact that it is just out of range a little bit, and it's not exactly a 400 watt lamp. It can go up to 408. Not entirely sure. 2000 K of, color temperature, and a CRI of, what is that, less than 25. We'll take a look at all that, of course, when we get our lamp turned on. So, we have our energy rating here. It's rated at E, and they put a sticker over it. They must not have liked whatever was printed there. And, of course, our barcode and a whole bunch of regulatory information. Philips lighting. On this side, we have some cautionary things. My guess, wants you to read instructions. Don't break the outer bulb. You need a ballast. And that must be the E rating here. So, let's go ahead and see what we have inside. There it is, our 400 watt European high pressure sodium bulb. This is so cool. Now, it is slightly longer than a standard American bulb, but let's first take a look at the construction here. At the very top, we have the wire that comes up to hold the lamp and also make electrical connection on the other end. It is swirled at the top. I find that really unique. Instead of using any type of welding points, they used the continuous loop of the support to, well, support the top of the arc tube and make the electrical connection without any welds. Very interesting. We have our little gutter here, I do believe, and of course our arc tube. Now you notice on the arc tube there's this little thin line. I'm guessing that's some type of metal, and it must help in aiding the arc tube in starting, because I have seen that in some 50 watt high pressure sodium bulbs here in America, especially in the Lights of America electronically ballasted fixtures. There was a little piece of metal that went next to the arc tube, and that helped it ignite. Of course, at the bottom here, we have our stem press, pretty simple stuff, and of course our etch. We got to have our etch. I'm guessing that D4, whatever that symbol is, that must be our date code. And of course our E40, they call it Goliath. We call it the Mogul base, with a ceramic bottom on it here. So, with that being said, of course, let's compare it to our American counterpart. It's also a Philips. Now, this one is older, so I'm sure the modern version of the American Philips would look a little bit different. This is also a consumer package, so it's going to have a lot more color and stuff going on here. This is something you probably would have picked up at Home Depot back in the day. I'm sure lamps that were, for street lighting use wouldn't have had such a fancy you know, enclosure box or whatever. But with that being said, let's take a look at the lamp here. We do have some instructions inside to read about the high pressure sodium lamp, but here is its American counterpart. And if we line them up, you will see that indeed the European bulb is slightly taller. I want to say by an inch or so. But also the arc tube is in a different position, you know, for optics inside of the lamps. But the biggest difference probably is the arc tube size. As you can see, they're pretty much the same length, but the arc tube on the American version is a lot bigger in diameter than the European version. Of course, we have our etch here for the American one. And we have the little dimple at the top. Now, same idea here, I guess, as the European version. We did use the continuous support as a connector here. We have this extra piece of metal. I don't know if that is there just to ensure that it has a good connection versus relying on just the one. Of course, we have a brass base here. I don't know if modern ones even do that anymore. This one is from September of 1998. So yeah, we got a big difference in time for manufacturing of these lamps here. But a very nice comparison indeed. Now, if you haven't seen either of these, we do have our incandescent lamp here as an example. It's a big bulb. So, with all of that being said, let's go ahead, get this into a street light, and get it turning on. Okay, so we got our bulb installed in the fixture here. So let's go ahead and turn off our light, and we'll turn it on here in 3, 2, 1. Let's go ahead and get a reading right off the bat here. And as you can see, I was a little late with it because we're already getting the sodium into the arc stream here. And it's definitely getting a lot oranger. So now that we got all that in there, let's go ahead and get another reading there. We'll save that. We're currently at 118.2 volts, 3.65 amps, 330 watts, and a power factor of 0.77. Now this is going to take a little bit to warm up, so we're going to let it warm up. But just a side note, when we take a look at the lux meter here, once it's all warmed up, we do have about 9 lux coming in through the window outside, so we'll have to factor that into our readings. But for the moment, let's go ahead and let it warm up. Okay, I'm going to say we're at full brightness here. We've leveled off on both our lux meter, well, it's kind of going all over the place, but it's pretty much leveled off, and our watt meter here we've leveled off on. So let's go ahead, see what our meters have to say, and how well it's lighting everything up. So before testing this bulb, I was testing the American version of this 400 watt high pressure sodium bulb. And on our lux meter, in the exact same spot, about 7.5 feet from the bulb, I didn't even move the meter, we are getting 1900 and about, let's just say 30 lux or so. The US spec bulb was getting 1650. So we're definitely getting more lumens out of this European bulb here compared to the American version. Definitely brighter. So let's take a look at our meter here. We're at 117.4 volts, 4.41 amps, 490 watts, and a power factor of 0.94. Now, one thing I do notice when comparing the European bulb here to our American counterpart is that the light is a lot more yellow in color than orange. So the spectrum, I'm sure, is ever so slightly different. But it runs the same in our American street light here. Same nice light distribution. Looking good. The spectrum of the bulb right after turn on. The spectrum of the bulb during warm-up. And the spectrum of the bulb at full brightness. And here is a spectrum of the US version of this bulb. The CRI of the bulb right after turn on. The CRI of the bulb during warm-up. And the CRI of the bulb at full brightness. And here's the US version of this bulb at full brightness. The white balance of this bulb right after turn on. The white balance of the bulb during warm-up. And the white balance of the bulb at full brightness. And the US version of this bulb at full brightness. You know what time it is. It's cool down time. Obviously, another thing to note here, as we've noted earlier in the video, is that we have this like kind of metallic material on the outside of the arc tube there to aid in starting the arc tube. So as you can see, as it's cooling down here, we can see that little strip is a little hotter than the arc tube itself and is cooling down at a different rate. And there we go, the Philips Son T PIA Plus 400 watt high pressure sodium bulb. As always, I do hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you did, be sure to give it a like down below and leave a comment. I do enjoy reading all of your comments. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more great videos like this one. Also check out my secondary channel Merkove and subscribe over there for more behind the scenes and alternative content. Of course, check out the other videos here on this screen, and as always, thank you very much for watching.